And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time now for game number 2. We've got CDEC taking on EHOME. This best of 3 pretty much to determine the winner of Group D, to determine who will advance to the playoffs. So a very important series as far as the H-Cup group stage goes. Then we'll have 3 days of playoffs, so there'll be 1 team from each group, 4-team, double elimination, and then we'll have a winner. And the way it works is that every season, each season lasting a week, well 6 days I believe, 3 days of group stages, 3 days of playoffs, you get points, so as well as prize money. But you get the prize money, but the points go towards the qualification towards the next Star Ladder I-League LAN Finals. So the team for the upcoming Invitational in Kiev is already decided. That's Vici Gaming Reborn, but this H-Cup as well as ones to follow will contribute points towards the next Star Ladder LAN, which I believe is going to be sometime later this year, around June, July or something. Yet to be announced. You guys will hopefully find out some more details soon, but right now, let's talk Game 2, EHOME vs CDEC, and to join me to talk all things Chinese Dota is none other than Basskip. Are you ready for Game 2, dude?
Yeah, I'm excited. We've got the Invoker Winterwyvern opener again.
Okay. Which
I'm once again going to be a little bit bemused about, but it looks like, well, maybe we'll see something a little bit different from it this game. I think the point does still stand that it is decent setup. But we'll just see if they'll be able to, this time around, to get a little bit better executed. It is on the opposite side this time around, so
the Chen ban
show them
from CDEC, and yeah, like you say, it's on the other side. So EHOME are going to go towards the direction CDEC had. No big surprises. I mean, Nature's Prophet first pick it's been a go-to for a while as far as just what you want to be grabbing early on in a draft. So.
Yeah, the line's a little bit earlier here. I think he's definitely one of the best heroes when it comes to roaming mid and potentially killing off the Invoker, so I hope whatever is going to be mid from CDEC is going to have the opportunity to find those kills, though they don't even necessarily need to have someone that's all that easy to gank for, because they can have the Lion run in, the Nature's Prophet can TP, and I think pretty much no matter who you have mid at that point, it should be a kill. So maybe we'll see a little bit more action on this Invoker in the early game than we did in the previous game.
I mean, EHOME's bans were very much the initial bans targeted towards protecting mid, banning out the Bounty, the Earth Spirit. But again, Nature's Prophet, even though he's not a full position hero, as an offlaner, he fills a similar role. He's that TP in, and suddenly you've got a numbers advantage in whichever lane you're pressuring. So, unfortunately, you can't really ban them all, and CDC do get their hands on one, so it does seem like some emphasis is being showed towards that lane. EHOME go into Lone Druid, one of what became quickly Old 11's best heroes. Around the time they were winning the Mars Dota League, it was kind of on the back of his Lone Druid, and it was something they didn't really pull out until very late in the tournament and caught a lot of teams by surprise.
Yeah, I wonder if they give any thought to... It's still relatively early in the draft to say, and the decision can still wait, but I wonder if they give any thought to just going for a Quaswex Invoker. Gives them a lot of team fight to work with, pretty good at picking off the Nature's Prophet, even if you don't necessarily get the Orchid build, which hasn't been all that popular recently, but still just being able to move around Invis, Cold Snap with an Earn Charge, and just at least make him a little bit afraid. Also, the Alacrity is crazy on the bear, but it's
you get the Alacrity somewhat either way, though. Like whether you're going Exort or Quaswex, is whether you're getting the damage versus the attack speed. So
yeah, exactly.
I think it's comparable, but I think like we're kind of seeing the draft come together because you've got the Alacrity for the bear, you've got Cold Embrace to help keep the bear healed up. Like you're pushing high ground, your bear gets low, you manage to pull it back before it dies, and then heal it up, and you go again. So the Cold Embrace synergizes really nicely with the Lone Druid in general, I feel.
Yeah, I think the one thing as well that we're only starting to see Lone Druid players doing a little bit more is TPing the bear around. They're just TPing it back to effectively get one more life out of it. And I think that's really important when it comes to these kind of high ground siege strategies where it's very much focused around the bear, just chipping away at the buildings. But
rather than counter the bear, it seems CDC just going to grab some push and pressure of their own, something that can perhaps hit a good timing to push with before bear even gets that Radiance online. So Death Prophet for CDC now. We'll see what they have.
The Spirit Siphon's really good, actually, against the... it's really annoying for Lone Druid to deal with.
I normally expect to see like a Phoenix against the Lone Druid Bear, and that's something that Q and CDC in general have run a lot more. Like they were running support Phoenix before the Shanghai Major, where it became a thing. So, as far as support options go, that's the one that really stands out for me, even more so now with the Sven for EHOME.
Yeah, EHOME's lineup's actually pretty decent against Death Prophet at the moment. I think Invoker I think it's a slight loss for him on the mid lane, especially as we were talking about with this pressure from the Nature's Prophet and the Lion potentially. But they've got the Winter Wyvern to save people from the physical damage. They've got the Warcry as well, which was sort of the counter that I would say EG were really the ones that were using it back during Death Prophet's original heyday. And it's still as good as ever. The Warcry gives you the opportunity to either kite away from the Exorcism or to just run in and not take all that much damage from it. So definitely a nice pickup from that perspective.
Yeah. So I think the one thing going, like, I agree that about the Death Prophet versus Invoker, like the Death Prophet kind of edges out a little bit 1v1, but there's a lot of kill potential on Death Prophet with like one Winter Wyvern like rotation. You hit him with the Arctic Burn, as long as Invoker's like level 4-ish, maybe even level 3, you can easily, like, Death Prophet very squishy too, so very much a matchup that can go both ways depending on the influence the supports have there. They go Oracle, so not the Phoenix I mentioned, and this always has great synergy with Death Prophet, guarantees that she can be kept alive longer to do a good amount of damage with the Exorcism.
Yeah, and you get the double on the healing, which you can either synergize with Spirit Siphon during the Exorcism or towards the end if you happen to get saved, and the Exorcism heal.
The Exorcism heal normally heals you to full anyways, though.
Yeah, pretty much.
I absolutely, with the Spirit Siphon, absolutely. I've seen that save Death Prophet's lives numerous times, so.
I think the Disarm is potentially quite good as well, especially against the Lone Druid.
Oh, yeah.
Since EHOME's lineup's very much going to be behind the bear. So I think it's a pretty solid grab here. I think they do want for initiation a little bit over on the CDEC side. They can they can run forward with the Death Prophet a little bit. She's probably going to get a Yule Scepter at some point, so that'll help a little bit from that perspective. Lion might be able to grab a Blink, but early on, starting fights currently looks a little bit difficult for them compared to EHOME, where if they have a Quaswex Invoker, I think they've got initiation locked up at the moment.
And even when Lion has a Blink, if he's blinking to start a fight, maybe he disables or gets a good pick off to start a fight, but likely he's dying to do so because he's putting himself in terrible position. Then once Lion's dead, that's the entirety of your control and lockdown. Like, there's nothing that, like, the Oracle I guess has the trap, the Fortune's End, but the Lion, Hex, and Impale are, to me, kind of crucial for these team fights in some ways. EHOME wrap things up with a Tusk. I mean, this is looking very similar to what CDEC did. The Tusk Wyvern support duo, the Invoker. You kind of mentioned perhaps looking like maybe more like a Quaswex Invoker, based on the fact you've got the Lone Druid, the Sven. There's plenty of either you need a Quaswex Invoker, or I feel Sven can't be playing that super greedy like hard carry with Rush Helm of the Dominator, stack your Ancients, and play as that like one position Sven.
All right, CDEC just gonna go for the Spectre here. So they do have a lot of split push in their lineup, which EHOME are not all that well equipped to deal with. Potentially kind of outside of the Invoker. Once Spectre gets an item or two, she can very easily, continuously push out a lane. The Nature's Prophet as well. It's got a decent amount of pick-off potential. Lion finds anyone, and then you can have both of those heroes jump in. And it is Rabbit on the Spectre as well, so definitely anticipating that he's going to be doing the popular thing at the moment, which is just to buy kind of tons of little items and just participate every single time that you have Haunt off cooldown.
Yep. Alrighty, so here we go. Game number 2. We'll see a different approach from CDEC as far as the draft goes, and EHOME, well, taking a bit of a CDEC style approach with what they've put together, and whether or not this is going to go EHOME's way as well. Whether they get the 2-0, it's going to be a game number 3. So nothing too crazy as far as players and who's playing what here. You've got pretty set roles for the new teams. Lanham, of course, switching over to the carry role. Ice now playing the support. He's going to be on the Tusk, a hero he should be very comfortable with how much he played in the offlane. So we'll see things unravel here for these two new squads, and both teams looking to get off to a good start here with some of these big tournaments coming up, the Manila Major and all that. It's going to be really interesting to see if any of the Chinese teams actually get direct invites to Manila, based on like the fact that it was just a major reshuffle and none of the teams did well in Shanghai.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. If they have a potentially a big tournament in China before it happens, and one team stands head and shoulders above the rest, then maybe there'll be something. But yeah, it's definitely interesting
Yeah, there's ESL 1 Manila, which EHOME will be playing at, so that's kind of, I think that's right before the qualifiers, so that may influence the invites. And then there's also Star Ladder, which has LGD and Vici Gaming. Like, so I feel like a few of the teams are lucky enough to be at an event where they can like try and prove that they're deserving of invite. Unfortunately, like for Star Ladder, it's like Vici Gaming are not looking like one of the top teams in China right now, so that's not really a team to make that's going to make a very strong case. But for LGD, maybe. For EHOME, I think EHOME is like, I've seen a lot of the players say EHOME's like one of the strongest looking Chinese teams now, so I think they're maybe the one team who could try and make an argument for themselves.
Oh, is your bear blocked? No, alright, he's got the Quelling Blade, but they're still pummeling him.
Oh, this is a lot of damage here. They may be able to get up another Impale here. Doesn't get the creep pull as well. I'm actually going to bring this down. Maybe. Close. Another Fortune's End in a couple of seconds. I believe, yeah, there we go. That's going to channel off. They're actually going to commit to this one. Can he get the deny? No, he gets the resummon.
Alright, well, they saved the lane position as well by preventing him from dragging it, so I think that's a pretty big win for CDEC. The bear has, well, Ult 11 has blocked out this...
Top lane, by the way. Oh my gosh. Ice getting very aggressive. Behind the tier 1 tower, just trying to orb Venom down.
He won't be able to get through that. Yeah, that choke point is not available to him anymore.
Okay. well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Quickly turns south, and Super's coming in. No Spirit Siphon, luckily for Ice. Is he going to TP in on this one? Could think about it, but it doesn't look like it. Nature's Prophet wants to head back top. That's like some typical Ice shenanigans, but... Bottom, Q. Not going to get the kill with this Fortune's End, and looks like the chase not going to be possible. So we do see Exod Invoker, by the way.
Okay.
See how much farm there is to go around between the Sven, the Invoker, the Lone Druid, mid lane, Old Chicken. Tries to go for the kill. The Fairy Fire is there. He gets 2 misses in a row, and no Sunstrike available. Won't have the mana to use it as well, even if he invokes it. Nature's Prophet's TP slightly off position.
So what happened there is that Old Chicken was pressuring Super with just Cold Snap and auto attacks, and then I think he was anticipating that Super was going to back up a little bit, so he Sunstruck right in the trees, but instead Super just popped his Fairy Fire and hit him with Spirit Siphon and started running at him, so he missed the Sunstrike and then he had to back off, so...
Okay.
Just a bunch of regen being traded overall.
Yep. But... And for Super, that's okay. He's got his bottle now, so he can probably just bottle Crow here if he needs to. But Ice, he's smoked up. He looks for the Courier here, I believe. And this is a very slow Courier. Okay, dead Courier. How many more dead Couriers are we going to have this tournament? Ice says, thank you very much. And Death Prophet's mid lane now gets a lot harder. At this point, you're thinking, like, just get as much farm as you can and then go back to farm to heal. And as you say that,
no mana.
Not going to get killed off. He'll probably just nuke a few more, then he's going to have to go back to farm to heal. But he's getting snowballed now. He's maybe overstayed here in this mid lane. Spirit Siphon is available. No mana for a Crypt Swarm. He's going in. He's going to turn this one around. And Ice. Getting a bit overzealous there. He knew the Death Prophet was getting greedy, like trying to stay around in lane on like 100 HP to farm before healing at the fountain, and he tries to punish it, but really, he just ends up giving up a kill.
He got OS frogged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spirit Siphon is a hell of an ability.
I mean, he only has himself to blame there. I don't think you can even pull out the OS frog there. that was just questionable. I guess he's thinking, oh, my Invoker's right here, but Invoker's got it. I mean, Invoker just had no spells like available and was pretty low on HP. Like I think the Forward Spirit Cold Snap were on cooldown, so Yao at top. TP's away from an initiation on him. Hasn't actually got. Normally you see like at least like level 3.5, level 4 by this stage. I feel, but he's been fairly active early on. A lot of little pokes and prods in various places around the map. Speaking of which, Q on the Oracle getting chased down now. The Orb of Venom, the Tusk, the Cold Snap is there. Is there going to be a Sunstrike? He wants to make sure he's going to land it. He's off target. And Q, Fairy Fire, 10 goes up. He's actually going to survive again. Ice. He actually drops a ward here. I'm not sure if that was the best idea because Hinger's in plain sight. Double Spirit Siphon. Maybe you can call this one a bit of an OS frog. He will go down behind the tier 1 tower. Just one of those Ice games, I guess.
I think he was he kind of came back to mid and kind of made reparations for the fact that he just fed the opposing mid. He's like, here's a tango, here's a clarity. I'll try and get you this kill on Q, and instead he just ends up giving over another kill.
He was very, it was very close to being a successful gank, but once he got away, they just had to give up chase. Lanham, though, the roaming Sven has found his way towards mid lane. That is not a hero super expected to suddenly appear mid.
Yeah, I think they were definitely very done with Super surviving those last 2 attempts on his life. So.
I guess I think they scouted the room with their ward and was just like, oh, Super. Actually, no, their wards are actually behind the tier 1 tower in both mid and bottom, mid and top. But yeah, Super just finding a kill with that rotation. Now they're going to find Yao here, reading his movement towards the jungle. Yao can TP home, and I believe the damage is not going to be there. Yeah, he gets himself out. Lanham did not have quite reached his level 6.
What is he doing? Why does he have a Wraith Band?
On who?
On Sven. He has I mean he has the poor man shield for the trance, sure. And now he has a Wraith Band.
Shrug. That's not a Sven item, is it? Like
I don't think it is. I've seen Aquila on OD.
Yep, I've seen it on OD as well as Invokers, but
yep.
Aquila Sven. I would say not an item. Like, it's one of those things where I don't immediately just want to like shrug it off and like I want to try and think like, okay, does this make sense? But
I mean, Sven is always kind of wanting for mana, which is why I really like that he's gone for this bottle, given that he's got an Invoker mid. But action mid.
Yep, they're gonna come in. Lanham just seems to want to roam around and get active. He's maxing cleave, but he's also fighting, and it's going to lead to another kill on this Super Death Pro. I think he's completely just throwing Super off with his presence in this mid lane. Like, he has just come out unexpectedly towards his mid lane on multiple occasions. But I mean, in theory, okay, so Ring of Aquila, like, it's a value item in a lot of ways. Like, the mana regen is, for a hero like Sven with a small mana pool, very effective. It's a little bit of extra stats. Attack speed's always good considering you're a Sven as far as the Wraith Band's concerned. It's not like a terrible value item, but it's still an odd choice.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit strange. You know, we do see Sven when a lot of players, when they go for S and Y, they'll pick up the Yasha first, just because the hero does not have a ton of attack speed and does really benefit from it along with the move speed. So yeah, I just think it's a little bit odd when he's got the bottle as well. His inventory is going to become really crowded really quickly.
No,
He'll probably get rid of the poor man shield.
It's absolutely the point there. I agree, because if you're thinking like, okay, the mana regen's kind of nice, like you've already covered your regen with the bottle. So talking about even just the stats from the Wraith Band giving you a bit more intel to have a bigger mana pool. Again, you've got the bottle for that mana regen to guarantee that you can get off an extra stun hero there.
All to 11, trouble.
Okay, he goes down, TPM from Yao secures it, and ideally you want to start transitioning into getting some towers here, but still full HP at bottom lane. Rabbit got level 6 off of that, so Haunt now available for some of this action that's happening around the map. See what the plan's going to be.
He wants the
Again,
rune, but
it's every single time Sven is there.
Yeah.
He's now going back to a... Oh, pops the ultimate. Lanham! Okay, he's just going to use this to farm this jungle stack. Makes sense. Just wanting to power farm a little bit while he can. Does mean he may not have it for a fight to follow, because Rabbit will be looking to fight. He's got Urn with Haunt, so... have to imagine that CDEC are kind of plotting their next aggressive move to incorporate this Spectre.
Yeah, I think the one other thing that... So not only has Lanham's play probably caught CDC off guard a little bit from the perspective that he's running around and doing things, and there's now this constant pressure of like, Sven is in the jungle, but he could actually be anywhere from their point of view. So they're a little bit afraid of that. But the other thing is that the Winter Wyvern's going to have way more fun than I expect. Poor Ice. The mid lane has just not been kind to him today, has it?
I mean, I don't want to say entirely poor Ice. I feel like a lot of it has been his own doing.
That's true.
It's like poor Ice is like if you're like a solo support against like a global lineup and they just keep targeting you with like a Zeus, Prophet, Spectre ultimate. But no, he's just like running into like aggressive positions. Like that one may be a little more excusable. He's camping around the mid lane, doesn't think he's been scouted. But yeah.
I think from his perspective, he's laid all of this groundwork. He's put wards behind the tower. He's put wards in front of the tower. There's a ward over by the bottom lane just so that he can kind of spot rotations. And he's just put in all this work to try and get successful kills on Super, and not once has it worked out for him. But I think that's also because CDEC are on high alert because of this roaming Sven. So doing their best to make sure that the Death Prophet stays safe.
I mean, he's taking what he used to do in the offlane role, create space, to the support role, and it's all about getting... If anything, like, you look at how the Sven's playing, like, yeah, he's still going this kind of carry build in terms of his skills, but his movement, being as active and aggressive as he is much more kind of... Like, he's the one trying to... They're trying to set this Lone Druid up for success as far as the Midas Radiance timing goes.
Yeah, I mean, both of the other cores have gone Midas, so I really like the Sven stepping up to the plate and just moving around. I wonder if he'll even go Blink as his next item or something.
Definitely possible. Yeah, they smoke down here. Sven has a stun, needs the vision for it, but Rabbit's managed to get himself over the trees here. Now it becomes a question of whether or not CDC can kind of turn this one around, or if they're interested in doing so. Death Prophet doesn't actually have a TP. Courier coming out has that? Yeah, that's got one for Super. So once Super's TP, if Super has a TP, then they can start considering trying to take the fight back to EHOME in bottom lane. But yeah, kind of like you mentioned, it's weird to see this level 1 stun with the roaming Sven, but the stun really does scale very poorly. It's just purely damage, and even the damage increase is only so-so. Mid lane, Super getting initiated on by the Invoker, but there's a Spectre Haunt coming out in return. They want Old Chicken, and with Yao TPing as well, the Finger of Death, they guarantee the kill. Get Rabbit his first Urn charges, and it doesn't look like Lanham can do much to turn this one around. Doesn't get inside the Snowball. Ice went in aggressively, but I don't think they want to chase uphill. Super. Oh, they've got him with the Winter's Curse. Is the damage going to be enough? The Splinter Blast well timed, but Rabbit survives on a sliver of HP. Almost managing to make things swing a bit more in EHOME's favor there, but it's CDC who get the Invoker, don't take any losses. Have to be feeling pretty good about this exchange in mid lane. Super, even with the X's himself, is working away at this tier 1 mid tower.
Shame for them that the fight isn't a little bit further away from a tower that Super still manages to get a ton of value out of his exorcism. Nice Sunstrike.
Yeah. I thought for a second I saw Lion's sidestep. I'm like, did he just actually like by like RNG/luck dodge that Sunstrike? But it looked like he was just repositioning his hero and almost dodged the Sunstrike. To me, unintentionally, but who knows? Maybe he was thinking about it.
He lost 180 gold, and he's already got 1,500, so it's going to set his Blink Dagger back a little bit. This line is actually surprisingly farmed, given that he only has 5 CS.
I think it's the classic, like, he's just buying 0 support items. I don't know if he went boots level 1, but like if you just go boots, like if your starting items is boots and your fellow supports buys the courier, the wards and all that, and then you never have to buy wards, like you get a 12-13 minute Blink Dagger just by not dying.
Yeah, but it's not like Q is poor either. I mean, he's got Arcane Boots and a Wand, and he's been buying...
He's got a bit more CS. I don't know if he's been pulling, but yeah, he's doing alright.
I think you look at their scores as well, and they're both... well, they both were 1-0 and 2, and I think both of those assists might be Ice. So I think they've both gotten a little bit of a bonus as well off of this Tusk.
I mean, speaking of farm, Wyvern's just been... And with the Sven roaming, Wyvern's had 30 CS in this top lane. On top of that, Tusk had some time alone at top lane, 14 CS on Ice. I think he just dewarded there, that got him. Apparently you get CS for dewarding, that's pretty nifty. Deflating his farm. Oh, speaking of Ice. Seen this one before. Spectre Haunted doesn't even... Ice is too fast for him to even get involved, but now he's going to find a new target in the form of Old Chicken's Invoker, but don't think the catch is there. Yao gets him, but there's still a Tengu available. As Old Chicken manages to escape. Sunstrike. Ooh, Nuxie completely misses there. Q just using the false promise on himself, stopped kind of retreating and did not walk into where he thought the Sunstrike, or to where Invoker thought he was going to be for the Sunstrike. We've seen a lot of missed Sunstrikes in these two games, I gotta say. Like, Super's Invoker in game 1, like, it wasn't all that impressive. Not to say it was bad, it was like just like a solid, consistent Invoker, didn't make any big plays, and so far, Old Chicken, a lot of the same.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other thing to say is that, you know, the more that people play against it, the more that they're thinking about it as well, but some of these are just being, like, pretty wildly off Rabbit.
There's the setup. He'll hit this one, but they're not going to go in for the kill. But yeah, it's those Sunstrikes which you need to land. Like, okay, we initiated, but you've got Cold Snap on the hero and they're on the retreat. Like, yeah, it's on 100%.
Yeah.
Like, they can dodge it, but you still need to at least hit those Sunstrikes 50% of the time. And we've just seen like 80-90% of them miss. Both game 1, game 2. See a Sunstrike now looking for the Oracle. This is like the zoning Sunstrike almost. As Q will heal himself back up, looking just to secure this tier 1 mid tower. Old Chicken, Midas Drums, pretty standard stuff early on, and it looks like this tier 1 bottom tower not going to get down to deny range. I think EHOME make the decision just to back off a little bit, not wanting to fully commit to it, and also not wanting to see it get denied. Instead, Invoker TPs towards top lane.
Yeah, and I feel like CDC are also being a little bit distracted by the real threat on EHOME, which is just this old 11 lone druid who is continuing to farm away.
It's the Sven. It's been such like a decoy and distraction. Spectre Horn coming out. Where is Spectre going to go? It's going to be towards the top room, looking for old 11. Super. Getting Savage Roars there, and Garda was too far away for the TP cancel. So nice response from old 11. You kind of mentioned maybe they've been ignoring him too much. It seems they finally took an approach to take the fight to him, but TP's out of there, so wasted time as they don't get the kill.
Yeah. Lamb has gone back for an HOTD here, so it looks like he still wants to try and stay involved with this game in terms of overall farm and make sure that he still has an impact in terms of providing damage.
I mean, at this point, they're just getting away with having 3 kind of greedy farming cores. They've got 2 Midases, they've got a Helm of the Dominant Ancient stacking Sven, and they're getting away with it. They're behind a couple kills, but the kills do not tell the story really at all here. They're all ice kills where he's just creating space.
Yeah.
I mean, I say creating space. Some of them he's just actually just feeding, and there's no space creation. But they're all insignificant kills for the most part.
Yep. I mean, EHOME are up.
This one less.
What,
this one a bit more
network?
significant. The Invoker. But yeah, you were saying, so 4K net worth advantage for EHOME.
Bunch of experience, top 3 net worth. We're all up until that death. We're all EHOME heroes. So yeah, they're really getting away with it. Yeah, Old Chicken's been a couple of these deaths, and even the one death on the Lone Druid was very much early on in the laning stage. So since getting his Midas and starting to build towards the Relic, there's been no deaths that have slowed down his Radiance timing, particularly. We'll have the Relic in just a second now, so as long as he doesn't get picked off in the next couple of seconds. And uh-oh, Fenrir going down. I mean, CDC starting to get a few pickoffs here or there. Like, I still just feel like they're not getting enough, and possibly things could start looking really bad if Rabbit gets caught out. He doesn't have a dagger. He can't go over the trees here. The Sunstrike not going to land there as Q comes in with the false promise. Is the damage going to be enough? Might be a little bit closer. I believe Q's got enough heals off on the Rabbit. Yeah, he's actually going to heal back up, and Q could become the new target. All 11 ends up going down. Great retaliation coming in bottom. They kill off the Lone Druid, and okay, he did buy the Relic, so he doesn't actually lose money there, I believe. And EHOME just getting a bit over eager there at bottom. The Oracle really coming into play. Yeah, I get the feeling that Fenrir may have even been trying to just distract or cancel TP's top while they went for that play bottom, which is part of the reason that he was still up there, because no one else was anywhere close to be able to really help out. But yeah, he got scattered out anyway and ended up dying.
Suddenly Death Prophet, most farm. Death Prophet got the kill at top, TP'd bottom, got the tower, so suddenly Death Prophet's actually more farm than all the EHOME cores, and he's going to start tinking up with a build in towards the Octarine core. That was like probably like close to 1,000, like 1,500 gold swing going Super's way alone, so pretty nice for him.
Yeah, I think he was like, as they were coming up to push that tower, all of the EHOME cores were like 6.2, and he was just behind them. Yep. It's like 6.1 or something, and now he's at 8.1. So
that was like a 4K gold swing in the last couple of minutes. It's almost back to even, actually. Everything was going fine for EHOME. All they had to do was just not... And they just got over-aggressive. Like, they've got these 3 greedy cores. You've gone for a double Midas. You've got a Sven, Helm of the Dominant Ancient stacking. They don't need to go... Yes, Spectre's like a big, scary late-game threat who ganking is kind of like preferred, but I don't think Spectre is going to be a problem for them if they continue to farm. And not continuing to farm and having a gank like that backfire is ultimately going to really punish them. Possibly looking to contest the Ancients here. Q gets Winter's Cursed up. That's not going to do a whole lot here. It's Spectre going in at bottom lane. Old 11's been found, and no Druid. Second death in a row as he's trying to work on the Radiant. Q's come in towards the Ancients, and there's no way he's surviving this false promise. And he blows up, but does possibly prevent Sven from taking the ancient stacks for now. Not sure what Lone Drill was doing as far down as he was, but just perhaps not respecting the global presence of the Spectre and Nature's Prophet.
Yeah, they haven't quite managed to reestablish where everybody is farming at the moment. I think he would have been alright to go back over into their jungle, but maybe misread it a little bit with thinking that the Invoker was going to go there and just wanted to go and make as much use out of the map as they possibly could, but yeah, gets caught out. The funny thing for me in that last little engagement was Q comes running up to try and ward up the Ancients and scout out what's going on, and they pop the Haunt, and all 4 EHOME heroes that are sitting up on the hill all of a sudden just run right back the opposite direction away from Q because they think the entire team is behind him.
That's what I was watching. I'm watching this. I'm like, wait, why did Spectre just haunt? Like, there's no way he's fighting these 4 heroes. So like, I double click the Spectre. I'm like, oh, he's killing the Lone Druid bottom. Because I'm like watching Q run into these 4 heroes, and then like I'm like, okay, Q's probably dead. EHOME's gonna kill him easily. Oh wait, hold on. But it all made sense in the end. So something you mentioned, Lannon will pick up the Blink Dagger, not going into the SMY. He comes top to take a tier 1 tower. Glyph will just be thrown out, but not going to prevent this tower going down. Just a free Glyph that's going to be reset. As bottom lane... Spectre actually denied the mid tower. I was about to say, that's 2 towers going the way of EHOME very quickly. The Lone Druid Bear helping bring down the mid one. As bottom lane, it looks like there's maybe some thoughts towards a chase from EHOME, but they're not going to manage to catch anyone out.
CDEC are starting to piece together a pretty scary timing here, where it looks like Rabbit's going to have... I guess he's going Radiance at this point, with 3.2k already pulled up, and the Death Prophet is making pretty quick progress towards the...
Rabbit? I've seen this one backfire before, but finally they're going to succeed in getting this kill. The Nature's Prophet TP in comes, but I don't think they actually bring down Lanham now. He's going to walk right back away, so... That gank finally works. They failed it a few times, but this time around they managed to get the kill quickly and get out.
Yeah, pretty big setback as well. 330 gold lost for the Spectre there. And farming time, of course.
Do you feel like CDC's timing with the Spectre Radiance is that much scarier than like the Bear's Radiance timing though?
Super in some trouble. Can I time the Sunstrike?
I don't think he's going to survive this false promise. It's going to be close perhaps. Fenrir, he's got another Splinter Blast, so yeah, Super's going down. He does survive the false promise, but then gets immediately sniped afterwards. Spectre's got a Haunt. He's respawning a couple of seconds. The question is, does CDC have enough here? Haunt comes out, possibly towards the mid lane, I believe. They're going to finish off Yao. Bottom who TP's out. Meanwhile, mid, 11 does go down. That was the Lion teaming up with the Spectre. So again, Lone Druid brought down, but he bought the Radiance at least. Glimmer Cave also online for Fenrir's Winter Wyvern. So, definitely, I mean, as far as the Radiance timing go back to that question, like, is Lone Druid's Radiance timing not at least comparable to Spectre's, or you think Spectre's is going to be a much bigger, like, boost to CDC?
I just think in terms of the marginal change, so how much stronger CDC become when they have that. It's it's a little bit of survivability for the Death Prophet and whatnot. So I do think it helps their team fight more than the EHOME Radiance helps theirs. But it'll be interesting to see how these next couple of fights play out, because I think EHOME are about to really start pouring on the aggression in the next couple of minutes. And if the Spectre ends up dying again, that could be really painful. But getting that kill on the Lone Druid definitely helps. So Sacred Relic and 350 gold.
I think one of the tough things for Spectre this game, even like when you have that Radiance timing, often the plan is to group as 4 while Spectre farms and pushes out a lane. But against this lineup, it's very risky to do so. We've seen EHOME. Their plan has often been, Spectre's farming, let's gank him, because if we fight the other heroes, it's going to be like, maybe we have like a slightly advantageous fight, then Spectre haunts in and we lose a fight. That's like the worst case scenario. So the safest play has been for EHOME to keep trying to go for that Spectre. And even when Radiance is online, they can continue to do that. Sven plus Invoker, they'll kill the Spectre. We saw it at top lane. They can do that again even when Radiance is up. So to me, Rabbit is not going to find himself suddenly in an easier game when he gets that Radiance.
Yeah, I think that's definitely very true. It is going to still accelerate his farm a decent amount, so if they can maintain a little bit of control over their side of the map, that should help out. It's also going to affect his split pushing a lot, but We shall have to see. EHOME, they've got that Radiance up on the bear. It's pushing a lane, and they've got a 4-man smoke immediately. They're really looking to hammer this timing as hard as they can.
Korean expired right before they came in too, so will be a free Roshan at least for now. And I don't see, yeah, no one's in the vicinity. This is going to be pretty straightforward. And we'll just see if it picks up. It looks like Lanham dropping the Quelling Blade's going to be the one to snag it. I think the craziest thing I saw the other day when IG took a Roshan was they gave the Aegis to a lone druid who had Aghanim Scepter and all his items on his bear. I'm just like, what? It's one like it's already like it's okay on lone druid like typically, but when you have an Ag Scepter on the lone druid, you give him the Aegis. I was just like,
it's baffling.
I could not find a single way to justify it. I was like, okay, he's split pushing with his Spirit Bear and needs to run in his hero to Savage Roar to stop because it was kind of like a base race scenario, so I was like, alright, maybe he walks in with his hero to Savage Roar, but it's like, not really. There was nothing going for the bear to take an Aegis. It was like better on like their 5 position support, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think the big thing for Lamb here, as much as Aegis is always a little bit weird on heroes with these transformation ultimates, his game plan is, I'm going to blink in on someone, they're going to get Sunstruck, and that's hopefully going to be a kill right away, but I'm probably going to die as a result, and then I'll pop up with my God Strength and my BKB, and I can be useful for the second part of the fight. So I think he's definitely the right
Spirit
choice.
Siphon in the Sprout onto the bear. He does Quelling Blade out, but it looks like he wants to take the tower first. They go in on Super. Super does a buyback, but if he dies, he's already popped the Exorcism, so won't have a second life. Haunt goes on the back lines. Will they kill the Death Prop? The Yules will not prevent the damage from the False Promise. It's a heal from the False Promise. He gets brought back up, and Super, still in fighting shape, has repelled EHOME. They've taken out Wyvern as well as the Tusk now. And Sven respawning needs a fast blink if he's to escape. He doesn't get it off the Meteor. Deafening Blast, though. Rabbit gets low, gets kept alive by the Fate's Edict. Now Super. He gets brought down. So the Death Prophet does end up going down, and with the Yules set up, I believe Old 11 may just put the bear onto guard to finish him off. Old Chicken needs to find a way to get himself out of there. Jesus, the Purifying Flame's doing a lot of damage. Lanham on the front lines trying to fight his way through Rabbit. The Disarm not really doing enough. It's the Oracle, the hero of this fight. How much damage does Q do there? Just Purifying Flame up to Purifying Flame. Sets up CDEC. Spectre 4k damage. Oracle, I feel like he did more than 1500 damage. He did more than 1500 damage worth there as far as the overall fight.
Yeah, he goofed a little bit at the very end after playing like a near perfect team fight. I think he should have disarmed the Sven instead of disarming his Spectre, but everything else was amazing. Really good. I think especially the Fate's Edict on the Spectre as she was getting burned down by the Meteor and the Radiance, and then managing to heal her back up. That was really good play.
He's only level 3, but yeah, the cooldown on that becomes 7 seconds when it's maxed out. 10 seconds for the time being. The downtime on the spell very low once maxed out. So we'll see him probably max it out when he gets that next skill point at level 12.
Yeah.
What went so horribly wrong do you feel there as far as EHOME? Like pushing the high ground with Aegis? Like where did things kind of backfire?
I think it was just... I think they just... they thought that they had more damage for the Death Prophet than they ended up having. I think they were hoping... You know, Lamb, he blinked in, he stunned, they were waiting for follow-up damage, and then once the False Promise happened, he popped BKB and God Strength and just continued chasing. And I think he was really hoping that they were going to be able to force Super back or potentially get that kill, but then he dies. They get basically no value. They get very little value out of the Sven's second life, and at that point, I was thinking that the fight was going to go actually even worse for EHOME. So props to them for kind of turning things around a little bit. I think the Wyvern also died without doing too much. I think Winter Wyvern got focused down by the Spectre when the Haunt got popped, so that was probably the other big issue that they ran into. No value on the second Sven life, really, and the Winter Wyvern, despite having quite a bit of farm, didn't really manage to cast too many spells.
Yeah, and that was with a Glimmer Cape as well, so I'm not sure how that kind of came into play there, but as things stand, yeah, it's a good turnaround for CDEC. They don't really change too much as far as the net worth difference between the two teams, but do find themselves holding on, and something where, I mean, the Spectre Radiance, what it offers, like, as far as compared to the Lone Druid aside, like, Spectre really needs to just get that item or two to tank up. Like, I feel like Spectre's next item with, like, the Manta plus Radiance is a lot scarier than the Lone Druid with, like, well, I guess Vlad's a lot cheaper. Maybe you compare it more to the AC, which is a big item, but, I mean, the Death Prophet Spectre are just going to scale very well going into the late game here.
Yeah, the Death Prophet still has a couple of really big power spikes, if you want to call it that. You know, with the third point coming up in Exorcism, the Octarine Core is going to be completed relatively quickly as well, so definitely plenty of room for the Death Prophet to still grow. And I feel like CDC's high ground becomes more and more difficult to breach as the game goes on. Not necessarily just because of the strength of their heroes and the strength of their team fight, but the strength of their split push becomes that much stronger. We haven't really seen all that much craziness from the Nature's Prophet just yet, but as the map starts to open up more and more, and maybe they take this tier 1 tower down on bottom, all of a sudden he can be influencing the lanes a whole lot, and it makes it all that much harder for EHOME to actually make an attempt at any buildings. So yes. I think that's really what you're going to start to see become a problem as things drag on.
I mean, they've got a long way to wait for the next Roshan. They actually had almost 3 minutes, they probably had about 3 minutes left on the Aegis when they went for that high ground push. Do you not feel like they kind of rushed going for the high ground there? Like, even just like, we're talking about them having a net worth lead and all that, but they don't, like, it's all in saved up gold. Sven's sitting on over 3k gold, Invoker's sitting on 2.4k. Lone Druid has enough for a Vlad's, is sitting on 2k gold. So with the time they had left on the Aegis, I almost feel like they should have picked up like that next item or two and then gone like towards the end of the Aegis window.
I think you definitely could argue for that, but I think they're also worried about the split push, the same that I've been talking about for the last couple of minutes. That if they got some of that gold from pushing the tier 2 and pushing the tier 3, and I think they're worried that if they cede a bit of ground to go back and go and get those items. Maybe the other thing is that they didn't really bring a whole lot of wards into that last push. If you look at the map control at the moment, they were very focused around Roshan and making sure that they secured that, but didn't really establish a whole lot over on the Radiant side. So I think what's going through their minds is, as much as they've got a bunch of time, they're worried that if they back out, then somebody's going to get picked off by Lion, and then they're going to lose all of the value out of the Aegis immediately. So I do think it makes a little bit of sense that they went up to the high ground, but I think you're also right that you can probably argue that maybe they could have just waited for sat around in the Radiant jungle, farmed a little bit, and waited for the courier to bring some items. They didn't necessarily have to split up or anything.
I'm sure there's some elements, it's like you say, where they're worried about the split push, and they saw the lanes in a good position. Like, as they're going towards the high ground with the bear, they're like, oh, top lane's not at our base, we don't have to worry about TPing back to defend against the Spectre or Nature's Prophet. Like, Spectre, I think, was on the tier 2 tower, may have actually taken the tier 2 tower during that push, but it was ultimately a position where EHOME could... I mean, they got the tier 3 tower almost... It wasn't until the tier 3 tower was about to die that CDEC initiated in. So, we'll see what the next move's going to be. Octarine Core about to be complete on Super. They get the Mjolnir on Nature's Prophet. I think kind of mentioned is there's a lot of racked up money on the EHOME side. So they buy a Crystallis for Sven. Lone Druid completes his Vladimir's. And Invoker picks up a point booster, so we will see that Aghanim Scepter, I imagine, coming up for Old Chicken.
Yeah, Soul doesn't have that one picked up. He went for the Yule Scepter, and I feel like he was hoping that he might be able to grab a couple of pickoffs here and there, either on the supports or the Nature's Prophet, but hasn't really panned out.
Even the Spectre, I feel like Yule's are pretty good for like comboing when you have enough damage. You may need that one teammate to go with you, but Spectre doesn't really have a good way away from the Yule's combo.
Yeah, around the time that he had it, I definitely think it could have potentially gotten him some pickoffs, but CDC had been playing this pretty well. I really like this play from Garter as well. He's just hiding up in the trees here. Knows that he's got a Nature's Prophet to back him up. He's got a Spectre to back him up. So if he finds a valuable enough pickoff, then it's well worth it.
He might do so soon. They haven't seen the Invoker yet, but they will see that meteor get dropped, so they know he's there, yeah. Does the Spectre haunt? Yep, he pops the haunt, sees him in the trees here. Immediate Ghost Walk. Old Chicken. He's getting slowed down, so they can actually track him now. And with the TP in with the dust, looks like they want to go on him. He uses himself up, but there's no additional Ghost Walk. It's like, oh, use off the dust. Well, one, there's another dust. Two, you don't have Ghost Walk again. EHOME. In the bottom lane, I don't imagine they expect to be able to find themselves in position to go high ground here, but they're going to at least force CDEC back to defend.
So they're going to be building up a. So they've got the Vlads and the Lone Druid, and he's now building into a pipe, which is definitely going to help against the radiance damage and this static charge damage as well from the Mjolnir. Now that's going to be thrown over on the Spectre or the Death Prophet pretty much every single fight.
I think pipe very underrated just against Spectre in general. Like it really, like if you're grouped up as 5 for a push, it really does negate a lot of the Spectre damage output.
Yeah, and you've got to remember as well with the they changed dispersion somewhat recently that the reflected damage type is the same as the incoming damage type. So that's one of the reasons I think why Sven is really good against Spectre is you deal a lot of physical damage, but you also protect your team with the Warcry and protect yourself, so that the dispersion doesn't do as much. And I think the same kind of idea is true here with the pipe. Not only are you negating a little bit of the radiance damage, but you're also protecting your team from some additional dispersion when a meatball gets thrown on the Spectre.
EHOME have smoked themselves past some treants here. They see the Spectre, they preemptively Warcried, ready to blink in is Lanham. Is there going to be a counter-initiation? Blink Hex is there with the Sunstrike as well. Nice Winter's Curse, should be able to take out Garda. Nope, the False Promise goes on to him. Rabbit, he's on full retreat here. Finger comes out to actually take out Ice on the Tusk. Lanham now needs to deal with this Death Prophet who has popped the Exorcism off. He's starting to use the Spirit Siphon. There's no False Promise available, and Super goes down as a result. Q may be regretting using that False Promise on a line at this point, and he's going to get caught by the very end of the tornado. It's the tip. As Yaogets goes down on the Nature's Prophet, they see Q in the trees trying to TP out. They'll burst him down as well. That's a gem loss. As CDEC going to be forced to use multiple buybacks. They've got no Exorcism here, and don't buy back on Death Prophet. This actually may have just broken the game wide open as EHOME should be able to get a lane of Raxia.
Yeah, Death Prophet was expecting to be protected in the same way that she was in the previous fights, but they've already blown the cooldowns.
Comes out, Lanham, knock me the target to start things off. Rabbit, he's bouncing around a little bit, sees Old 11, pops a Manta. Garda going to die on the high ground, that means no line. That's the majority of the lockdown and control on the side of CDC, and they've got 2 heroes fighting into 5 here. Rabbit may actually just go down here. He's got no buyback with the Manta purchase. One more Sven Sun comes out. Bear just needs a couple right clicks to land the Radiance Evasion. Not going to save his life as Old 11 gets helped out of the Sprout. We'll see Rax claimed here. Good news is for CDC that they can only lose 1 lane of Rax right now because of the tier 2 tower still standing. So EHOME will be forced back to push some of these other lanes.
The Warcry and the Vlads are just so good against the Exorcism. I mean, it isn't the level 3 Exorcism just yet, so unfortunately for Super, he hadn't quite hit that timing before that fight broke out, but he was sitting in the middle of 3 heroes with no creeps for a bit in that fight and hardly did anything to them, so it just seems like EHOME are really well equipped both against the Death Prophet and the Spectre.
And it really feels like even just like pick that small upgrade to the Vlads, also the pipe, like having just a few kind of small items was all they needed. And it really kind of goes back to that last push where they lost a big fight, and if they'd maybe bought 1 or 2 more of those items, things probably would have gone a little bit better. It also helps, I mean, that they just had a better initiation. Like the Oracle uses False Promise on the line to try and save him, and then Death Prophet goes in. There is no False Promise. I mean, that probably is the biggest change as far as how well that fight went. Nature's Prophet, Yao caught out the top lane by the Tusk Invoker, and CDC now pressure's on once again.
And so I think that's the first time that Yao's really tried to get some aggressive slow pushing done this game and ends up getting punished for it. So the Invoker really working out for that. What else have we got? We've got a relatively late mech completed on this Tusk, but as we've been talking about, a little bit of extra armor is not going to go amiss in these upcoming fights. And Roshan's back up as well, so nice and easy for EHOME to head in there right now.
And this is a kind of scary thought. I mean, CDC not in a position to contest this, but defending, again, their high ground now with this next level of items coming up. And I think is this AC soon for Sven, or is he going... What's he done here? He completed the Daedalus, so he picked up a casual Hyperstone, then upgraded his Crystallis to Daedalus, so just wanted the extra attack speed for now. We'll see if he gets the AC or the Lone Druid Bear decides to get it. Could always be a Moonshard for Lanham on the Sven as well.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. The Lone Druid's actually grabbed a Maelstrom as well. So maybe he's going Mjolnir and the Sven's going AC or something like that.
They've already got a lot of armor. Like, yeah, may as well get more. It's attack speed as well as armor. There's nothing wrong with AC. But it's not like they're squishy by any means and desperately need the AC. So they'll get the tier 2 top. Now they're going to swing top to go for another tier 2. I always find it's easier, like, when you've taken, like, a bottom lane of Rax to push top, just because it's further away from that bottom lane. So you know the enemy's going to have some heroes towards bottom dealing with the mega creeps pushing in. Like, pushing mid after you've taken bottom is always just that little bit harder.
Yeah, and it gives you a little high ground to work with as well.
They blinked in. CDC want to take the fight here. Old Chicken, the target. He's got no Aegis. Lana would look to try and turn things around, but he's been sprouted up. I've seen this one before. Something Arteezy could perhaps sympathize with. Lanham just getting kited around during his God Strength. The Winter's Curse comes out. Super taking only a little smidgen of damage. The Stormbolt to follow it up. As you can see, an Ice Shard's trying to block off the retreat. Another Sprout blocking off Lanham as well as Old 11 in the side, and that leaves Ice alone, but even so, CDEC starting to fall. It's just the supports and the Nature's Prophet so far. Super as well as Rabbit both still very healthy, and Super about to heal up, which is good, but it's also bad because it means the Exorcism is over, and without the Exorcism, I'm not sure if CDEC can take this one. Rabbit on the front lines. Oh, he's going to get some help here. This Spirit Siphon, apparently all you need. You don't need Exorcism. You just need a bit of OS Frog, and Old Lanham will be forced back. No high ground to be taken right now. Sven still in okay fighting shape. Old 11 still with an Aegis as well, and they just got a good jump there on the Invoker. That really kind of kept CDEC alive.
Yeah, that was a really good way to start the fight for them. I mean, the Invoker is relatively tanky, but still able to burst him down, and well, they hold on to their high ground for another day. Get a little bit more farm, get a bit tankier on the Death Prophet, especially get a little bit tankier on the Spectre. I think that's what they're really looking for at the moment. But items do continue to roll in for EHOME with that AC now complete on Lamb.
We're kind of seeing some of the side effects of, like, Tusk having a bad game. If he has something like a Blink Dagger there, he can potentially look to save. I guess they use Spectre Horn, so it'll be getting cancelled. But if he's in position to save the Invoker with a Snowball, that fight goes a whole lot better. So on the side of EHOME, it's this Old Chicken Invoker is often getting kind of preyed upon by CDC.
Yeah, I think you kind of wish that Invoker had just subbed out his drum for the Aegis as well.
Yes, I definitely agree. I guess if he does that, though, then the focus becomes the Lone Druid, like the hero, so it's kind of this trade-off you've got to find. But they're not done pushing. They're going to go once again. Death Prophet's ultimate has come off cooldown. The Bear on the high ground, taking a lot of damage and caught inside the Sprout. Will pop the pipe, but brought down. And Old 11 doesn't have a resummon for 20 seconds, so they may... well, it's even without a Spirit Bear, just leaving your base and fighting into this Sven more than anything is something CDC don't seem interested in. Problem is now Exorcism will go down, and there will be another Spirit Bear resummon 8 seconds from now, so there'll be one Spirit Bear on the high ground to push with. But I think more importantly, the Sven will push, because that Spirit Bear, we can see time and time again, gets brought down very easily by the Sprout, the Spirit Siphon, and everything else that goes with it.
Smoke up. Are they going to go in through the bottom?
Consider. They see... Well, they did see the Spectre down there. The smoke going to pop as they just come out. It doesn't look like they're going to really get full value out of the smoke, but they are wanting to go for another push. Alacrity on the Bear, getting stunned up, and there's the Winter's Curse, Super on the receiving end. In comes Old Land, and he throws out the stun, perhaps a tiny fraction too early, but I don't think it matters. They've got a great initiation. Spectre's dead, and without buyback, Super as well on the front lines. He does have buyback, but he's entirely relying on the Spirit Siphon to stay alive. He goes down. Likely be forced to buy back, but I don't think even with the buyback that CDC can turn this one around. They may have just been defeated here. EHOME looking to cinch their playoff spot here in the H Cup. Going for one last lane of Rax, and CDEC just out of firepower. They GG out.
I think Hugh's going to be kicking himself for his positioning in that last fight, getting stuck in the Winter's Curse with the Death Prophet.
It was going to be tough regardless, just without the Exorcism. The fact they used it and EHOME disengaged was... I think it was less about the Spirit Bear breaking the base at that point. It was just going to be like Sven alone could just blink high ground, BKB, ulti, and break the base. Like, I don't think there was really a way for CDC to take a good fight without Exorcism.
Yeah, and they were also a little bit screwed in terms of what you were saying, not being able to take a fight outside of the base, because they had the Exorcism running and they used the the lone druid, and then they're like, no, we're just going to go back to our high ground. We're going to go and wait. But as like you were saying, I don't know if they would have been able to do anything if they'd chased.
I think Old 11 probably, looking at how those last high ground pushes went, he would have gotten a lot of value out of just having a BKB instead of the Mjolnir on his Spirit Bear. I think that would have made life a lot easier for EHOME. But
yeah,
I mean, ultimately, they still get the win. It was just one of those things like, definitely, I think you can kind of question that item pickup. The Mjolnir didn't really offer all that much.
Yeah, but I think by far EHOME's best play this game is when they left the Invoker top and had the threat of the Boots of Travel in, and then they just managed to run at the Spectre bottom and just kind of caught CDEC off guard and really opened things up. Because after CDEC successfully held against the first Aegis, I was a little bit worried for EHOME, but they picked up that next round of items and just went right back to it. Didn't give them any more time to farm up and get tanky on the Spectre or anything.
The one thing I'm kind of noticing with CDEC, it feels like there's a lot of pressure on Rabbit game after game to get a lot done. Like even this game, like he's the one who has to get that Radiance timing, and he's always under pressure. Like he's the one who's feeling threatened to get ganked time and time again. Sometimes it works to CDC's advantage where they turned it around, but going back to the previous game on Gyrocopter, again, it felt like he had to do too much. It doesn't really feel like Yao and Super are yet stepping up as they need to, perhaps.
Yeah, I think it was also somewhat of a weird game for them draft-wise. I think the Death Prophet was a really good selection in terms of laning against the Invoker, and I think just from that perspective it was good, but I think pairing the Death Prophet and the Spectre together is a little bit weird. It doesn't give you a ton of aggressive potential to go and actually use the Exorcism in the early game, and they're both pretty squishy as well, so the Oracle helps to mitigate that a little bit, but it still didn't really feel like they were able to take early fights and early towers and really get much of an early lead going. So I don't know if they just felt like they didn't have anything better to put in the carry spot for the final pick, or if they felt that they needed to take a more defensive approach. But either way, that was also a little bit weird.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So with that, CDEC likely eliminated from Group D despite a 4-win, 1-loss score. Only one team advances to the playoff. EHOME are 3-1. They've got one match remaining. They're 4-0. They've got one match remaining. So in theory, they could lose it and then finish with this tied score with CDEC. At which point we go to the tiebreaker rules, which may be head-to-head, maybe something else. But either way, EHOME have put themselves in a position to take Group D here in the H Cup. So unfortunately for CDC, likely eliminated despite having a great group, just a very tough group to be in. But we'll have another match coming up soon. It's going to be, I believe, that EHOME match. EHOME vs Wings is up next. So if EHOME win it, they go undefeated. They take the group. If they lose it, I believe they also take the group, although don't quote me on that. So we're going to take a break. Then Basskip's going to be taking over the stream and taking the next best of 3 in about 50 minutes time. So there'll be a bit of a break. Check out some of the other games going on. BTS 2, Lyrical is covering some of the matches over there. I believe LGD were taking on the CDEC Youth Squad. I'm not sure if that's still going on, but plenty of games. There's also lots if you want to tune in on Dota TV. Just open up your Dota 2 client. You can check the watch tab. Plenty of games there to watch if you're looking for some competitive Dota from the Chinese Dota scene. So that does it. You can follow myself on Twitter at BTSGods. Follow Basskip at Basskip. We'll take a break and we'll see you guys in about 50 minutes time.